ever great give, even though everyone's kind of stuck at home. People are ponying up like never before to help close to 400 nonprofits do the work that keeps us fed, housed, clothed, well, and nurtured in body and soul. Get close to that 3 million mark, folks. We got to get past it. And what better person to bring it on home for the Radiothon than Maestro James Sinclair from
Hi,
Orchestra New
Paul.
England. So great to see you again. Are you
Yes,
home right now?
yes, I am, and it's well, welcome to my house.
Thank you. I'll try not to get the floor dirty. My shoes are a little messy. So how you doing with COVID-19, man?
Very good. You know, I work at home on the editing of Charles Ives's music. Of course, people know me as a conductor of Orchestra New England, but I am constantly working on getting all of Ives's music published in critical editions, scholarly editions. So I'm used to being here, and this is all the better as far as I'm concerned. I get a lot of concentrated time. I'm getting a lot done.
Are you getting out to walk and things like that?
Yeah, sure. I live downtown, so it's easy to walk down to the green and back for a good, whatever that is, half-mile stroll. Yeah.
And what are you finding when you walk downtown now as opposed to before
Well,
the
yeah,
pandemic?
it's a little sparse, and but the people are pleasant that I see on the street. Traffic is lighter. It's kind of takes me back to when I first arrived here in '72, uh, and things were sparser downtown, and it's kind of
That's
like
nice.
that now. And there are places to park.
That's an interesting observation because New
Yeah,
Haven has changed so much since you and I got here in the 70s. It's so
yeah.
busy, so hopping, and now it's not. But I kind of like the peacefulness. There was kind of almost a desperation in flight in the 70s, and right now there's just sort of this eerie time. And when
Yeah.
you walk around, Jim, because you're a composer too, aren't you?
No, I don't compose, but I arrange. Yeah.
What's it like? I take it when you walk, do you have time signatures in your brain when you go foot to foot? Like I know when I used to
Yeah.
jog, it's 3 4 4 4. Do you
Yeah.
have music? Do you work out ideas in your head either from the work you're doing on Ives music or the conducting you're going to resume doing at Orchestra New England?
Well, I, it's often abstract when when I'm walking. I like to walk contrary to the time signature might be in my head. So if I'm thinking a waltz, I'll walk two against the three. It's just sort of, I don't know, adds a little fun to it. And
Well,
swimming, I
that's what
used
you
to
do as a
pace
conductor, isn't
myself
it?
swimming a lot by using music in my head.
I do that too, and I used to swim. Now that's interesting what you said about trying to mix it up a little bit. If you got a waltz in your head, but you're walking against it, kind of counterpuncture, whatever the word
Yeah.
is. Is that when you are a conductor with Orchestra New England, which you've done for how many decades now?
Oh goodness. Well, it started in '74, so it's been 40. We're in the 47th season.
Wow. When a conductor, part of a conductor's role, is it to try to mix it up to make it a little more interesting, either in how you decide who's going to play what parts or how you're going to slow up or speed up? Is what you're doing when you're walking downtown and
Yeah, it might be
that
related.
waltz song.
Naturally, when you've got a play in front of you or you've got a music chart in front of you, a lot of the answers are on the page. But then there's a whole human side of it outside of what's on the page, and so you do interpret it to engage people who've heard it 1,000 times. If it's Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, you change the timing. You rush or you pull back or something to make a point structurally, and that just keeps it new.
And you're as a conductor, you're a focal point for the audience as well as the musicians. They're looking for leadership, and the audience is kind of you're
Yeah.
part of the drama. And we watch the intensity. People like to watch you. And when you're mixing it up and make it more interesting as a conductor, are you improvising it based on how you're feeling at the moment, the energy you're feeling with your like might you lower the bassoon or
Yeah,
up the
sure. Well, one
the
of the things
violin Or is
one
it
thing
something you thought out on one of your walks about, I'm going to try this different now next time?
Yeah, one of the things that's always true about the lively arts, be it dance or theater or drama or music, is that there's an audience there. This is a huge social occasion, and thoroughly banned these days. And that means that you feel the audience, and there is extra energy when an audience is really into it. This is going to be true for a rock band or a folk singer.
And we're talking to James Sinclair, founder, conductor, executive director, probably 7 other titles if we could dig them up somewhere, depending on the day, of Orchestra New England, which has made music accessible and gotten lots of people on both sides of the frame since 1974.
Right.
You've been in it for the long haul, Jim, and you've given so much to our city.
Yeah. Our famous colonial concert, which recreates music making in New Haven in the 1780s, started in 1980. So it's just this last November did its 40th iteration. It's an accomplishment.
And to keep it going, I mean, they've earned the stripes, they've earned our support. This is the half hour where we're going to ask you to dig deep for Orchestra New England. Pick all your favorite causes to give. If you want to throw a few dollars to the Independent, New Haven Independent, Valley Independent, Sentinel, WNHH, that's fine too. But nice. This half hour, we're talking about Orchestra New England, which is New Haven's own. And the way you can help out is to go to thegreatgive.org. Don't forget thegreatgive.org. Go to Orchestra New England. I see they've raised $4,900. We got to do better than that. We got to get you more than that. So what's happening during COVID-19 with Orchestra New England?
Well, the orchestra, of course, isn't playing concerts. We should be giving this month the 20th annual concert for Memorial Day for the city, for the veterans. It's a great tradition and one that we're honored to do, and it has been a thrill for the players and for me. It's a tragedy it's not happening. The longtime director of that just passed away, and we have a special elegy written for him for the occasion. But I guess it'll be put off. I haven't heard yet till when. Maybe it'll be Veterans Day when we play it. But the orchestra can't rehearse. And it doesn't have a concert that it can give. The last one we gave was March 7th.
Right, wow, you got right in under the
right at the end of everybody. And our April.
What was that concert?
Pardon?
What was that concert on March 7th?
It was it was an orchestra concert, and we had singers, and it was just a wonderful time and a spectacular event. We did a mini opera. And it was just a lot of fun. The audience just totally ate it up, but then it evaporates. Well, players can't make any money. You know, it's a gig economy for the musicians. They have absolutely nothing they can do except for private lessons over Zoom, something like that.
Zoom's tough, although I guess you could do one-on-one, because isn't that 3-second lag a problem?
Yes, latency.
Are there better platforms? Are there better platforms?
No, a direct phone line has no latency, or very little. That you can't.
Well, what if you're on a direct phone line and you have muted Zoom?
Yes,
so
right.
Yes,
that's right. That's right.
Goldberg
well,
approach.
You know, there's an interesting article about this in the New Haven Independent yesterday by Slattery. Is that right?
Yep, about Neighborhood Music School.
Yes, about Neighborhood Music School, and it talks about some of these things.
And so, you know, how did you fall in love with both New Haven and the colonial history? You came 72, 74, you started Orchestra New England. It's gone strong. You're beloved in the city. Yeah. You've kept it going a long time. How did you fall in love? What was it?
Charles Ives drew me here. And the weird thing is, I knew that Harvard was in Cambridge. I had no idea where Yale was. Yale floated in on a cloud for me.
Where were you at the time?
At Washington, D.C. And I found out that it was up the line on the train, and I took the train up here because I wanted to see Ives' papers. I wanted to meet John Kirkpatrick, the curator. cataloger of Charles Ives. And I walked across the green and just thought, this is special. I really like all the variety of architecture, and I like the feel of the town. And imagine, that's 1972, which downtown New
And I
Haven.
fell in love too in the 70s. It was first the Green, and then it was Toad's Place.
Good for you.
But what about Charles Ives? Now, what interested you about Charles Ives?
That goes back to when I was in high school, junior, and I watched Leonard Bernstein talking about Charles. Well, actually, he was talking about American music. And on the program, one of these young people's concerts on TV, he played a piece, talked about Ives, played a piece of Charles Ives, and I was blown away. I went down to the library and I looked for other stuff. There wasn't much, but what I found I absolutely loved because it was completely different from what I was shocked and thrilled by on the live performance of the New York Philharmonic there. And so it was obviously a huge panorama. And I just started, when you're in junior high, when you're in high school, you're just sort of trying to find your place. And I just thought, I have to own this. No one else, none of my friends knew who Charles Ives was. So I thought, this is cool.
And now you've been immersed in his music all this time. This is your day job in addition to Orchestra New England.
Yeah.
What is the resonance of music? Why does that last? Why is it still relevant? And what is the power derived from?
Well, Ives was a Danbury and Yale person, and he was very local, and he really connected with the history of the 19th century that he grew up in, and died in 1954. But he was really a child of the 1874 birth, and his music is is capturing the past, telling us something about that past, clinging and celebrating and loving that past. The holidays in America, he turned into various movements of a symphony. Each of his works tends to quote popular music, things that were loved, be them hymns or popular songs, ragtime pieces, everything that was America. So he really has wrapped up in a whole picture of what America was to him.
So interesting how we think of music from different time periods, and certain kinds of music kind of sum it up for people. And I don't know what the chicken and egg answer is. Maybe there isn't one. Is it something about what's in the music itself that evokes the time? Or is it the memories that are evoked from the time that associate? Could the same piece of music, if Charles Ives lived 50 years earlier or later, would he have written the same music, maybe with slightly different instruments? Or is that part of the
I think 50 years later, and he'd be a jazz musician. He liked improvisation.
I guess you're right, because musicians are constantly hearing what's around them, to both in the built environment and from other musicians. So you are a product of your time. I guess some music really does place you in a time.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about why certain music perseveres in others, why is that? Like, why does Bob Dylan and Neil Young still sound fresh to people, but Donovan doesn't? I mean, what's that about?
Well, they have the ones that have something to say, whose lyrics are meaningful and they marry with music that's memorable, end up being the lasting artists. And there are songs that were not number one, not even top 10, not even top 40, that are now icons of their era. So
what are you thinking of? Give me some examples. What are you thinking of?
I'm not being.
But there were B-sides.
I'm in my Charles Ives mode, but that is true, that there are things that were not important, majorly important at their time, that end up being held. There are B-sides of recordings, for instance. Flip sides that end up being the lasting song.
Yeah, James Sinclair, Orchestra New England. You're listening to him on the Great Give Radiothon, WNHH FM 103.5, live streamed at newhaven.org. There's really no reason. Listen how much this guy loves what he does and what impact he's on our city and what his organization has. there really is not an either or, two sides to the question. You go right to thegreatgive.org. You don't forget thegreatgive.org. Orchestra English, boy, I love seeing those numbers pile up, Harry Joe's. 2.87 million. We got to get to that 3 million by the end of the day. 391 organizations. It's not going to get us over the hump of COVID-19, but it's going to show in real ways how much we care about the people in our community and all pulling together for this moment. Now, what keeps you going 46 years later? Studying Charles Ives, still getting the critical academic works published, keeping Orchestra New England going. How does a person remain so committed, and how much longer do you see yourself doing it, Jim?
Well, might as well do the 50th anniversary at this point.
That's right.
So, and you're asking me questions that one would ask you. It's dedication. It matters because it affects people. I am a people person. I love entertaining. I like to have a sense, especially afterwards, mixing with the audience who's come. After each of O&E's concerts, there's always a reception. It's a convivial thing. It's a sharing thing. You've all felt the same energy. I suspect that we've all had the same heartbeat because the music will do that to you. That's a very satisfying experience, and you never get enough of it.
So I gotta wonder, this isn't killing you though, huh?
Oh,
Because
no,
you have a lot of
keeping
time.
me alive.
I mean this pandemic, but then I guess you also are someone who then draws a lot of energy internally when you're studying and doing the work in your home and the scholarly work you're doing. But you must really be missing those concerts.
I live it
up. I've never heard someone so beautifully say it as you just did, that when you have a common musical experience, you're having the same heartbeat, because music is a heartbeat. And I always wondered how sad I'd be if I were deaf, because I'd be so sad not to have music. It
You'd
seems
be Beethoven.
Like essential as food to live. Alan Appel, who's one of the hosts here, he talks about, he had a book that was translated into a couple of languages. It was kind of a humorous, but a Western. And it turned out that because it had revenge in the title, it sold very well among deaf people. That of people who had certain disabilities, there was more anger they felt. And I wonder if that's because feeling a common heartbeat and having the release of music helps us calibrate as human beings, as well as feel human. I always thought about that.
It's a profound thing. It's why the arts have to survive. They mean so much to all of us.
All right. Well, Jim Sinclair, way to go. I get so happy every year when you're on this Radiothon. I'm so glad you're still plugging away. And we're just going to remind people one more time.
I'm a lot like you.
I feel very simpatico to you. Thegreatgive.org, thegreatgive.org, Orchestra New England. 10 more minutes. Show Jim how much we appreciate what he's been doing for 46 years and all the musicians who play with him, and how we can't wait till they're back in the game, along with the rest of us. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Paul. Keep it up.
All right. And Harry Droz, station manager at WNHH-FM, the miracle man behind the controls. Harry, fantastic job on this Radiothon. You've been keeping us on so many platforms. You've been keeping the screens mixed up. You've been navigating all these different guests. Great job over these days. I see we're at 2.875. So this is Paul Bass. I'm going to thank you for listening and invite you to keep donating to the end of the year. Be that person who gives the $3 million. It's a great gift. Think how that would feel. So until tomorrow, this is Paul Bass signing off. Community Radio.